Welcome to Commander's Tech. For this Veterans Day and Armistice Day, I thought I would share a few thoughts and ideas I've had about the significance of the First World War. World War I was the war that mattered. It was an inflection point in history and in technology. Before the war, despite decades of incremental change, the old elites, the royals, the nobility, could continue to believe that nothing had really changed, that the stratification of society by birth and predetermined and immutable social class would continue much as it always had. Before the war, the old school generals could still believe that the ancient tactics and command structures could continue, with soldiers charging across open fields and meeting on open ground, failure being due to cowardice or deficiencies of the men, not to some intrinsic flaws in the method of fighting wars or the strategies and command structures used. After the war, most governments collapsed, or nearly collapsed, in a mass crisis of confidence. This led to the deposition and overthrow of the old elites in much of the world. The Hohenzollerns of Prussia, the Romanovs in Russia, the Habsburgs in the Austro-Hungarian Empire finally fell from power. Even the British royal family was somewhat sidelined, although they retained power in name at least. Even in the United States, the war had ripple effects, leading first to the fast-living days of the Roaring Twenties, and then to the Bonus Army, and the fiercest and harshest class and labor disputes and conflicts in U.S. history. The war told everyone clearly, in ways not seen in living memory or since, that those born into the ruling class are not better or smarter, more capable or more deserving of leadership than those not born to it. For millennia, the West has had a hereditary warrior elite that operated literally above the law, with powers of life and death and an absolute right to claim the property and wealth of those not born into the elite. We, to this day, glamorize and glorify these old elites, calling them knights and lords. But in much of Europe, they were literal robber barons, the Raubritter of Renaissance Germany. For those not born into the elite, the only real hope to some stability and security in life was to ingratiate yourself to a noble, hoping that they'll value you enough to offer you some protection against other nobles. Renaissance scholars, for example, always began their books with long, flowery dedications to nobles that they'd probably never even met, but who they hoped might be flattered enough that they might take notice of them and reward them with some small pension or perhaps a job. Out of this background, by the 18th century, with the scientific revolution and a growing interest in philosophy, came the Illuminati, a secret society dedicated to overthrowing the world order and taking power, but not the shadowy demonic cabal of modern conspiracy theories. The Illuminati sought to overthrow the old world order of hereditary robber barons and a corrupt church hierarchy, and replace it to establish a new world order based on principles of democracy and capitalism, where blood ties and family ties no longer guaranteed your place in life for good or ill, and the Illuminati largely succeeded. World War I was not the object of the Illuminati. It was more like the last gasp of the old order, expiring in the fires the Illuminati had lit several centuries earlier. The Central Powers, while not expressing any coherent ideology themselves, represented that old order, although Russia was certainly part of that old order as well. But Russia, then as now, was a haven of corruption and incompetence. So the failure and the fall of Russia wasn't really that big a surprise. Although the deaths of the Romanov family did take the world a bit by surprise. But America, France, and on a good day Britain represented the new world order. Meritocratic, technocratic, democratic, capitalistic. Had the war gone differently, the whole of the 20th century would have played out completely different. Better? There's no way to know, but different. Thanks. Thank you.